Hey friend, Micah McCurry here. Thank you so much for joining me right here on Bible Tract Echoes. I can't tell you what a privilege it is to speak to so many of you right here and right now. I'd also like to take this opportunity before we jump into the Bible. We're going to continue in Mark chapter number 6, but before we do that, I want to take a moment and say thank you so much to each and every one of you that not only listened to my new original song, The Old Kitchen Table, but also said such kind things about it. So many of you reached out, and my prayer is that it was a help to many of you. I know that there are not just dozens, but I'm sure hundreds that are listening right now that are praying for and have been praying for a prodigal, whether it's a son, a daughter, grandson, granddaughter, just someone that's near and dear to you, that's maybe they've gone away from the Lord and they're struggling. Maybe on the outside, on outward appearance, it doesn't seem like they're struggling, but inwardly you know, and it's tearing you up. My prayer is that the song, The Old Kitchen Table, of course, as I've mentioned before, it's my father-in-law's story of his prodigal years and how my grandmother-in-law, his mom, prayed for him. Of course, it's the grace of God and, yes, the good decisions that my father-in-law made to get right at the old kitchen table. That made all the difference, but I'm convinced that a mother's prayers, a father's prayers, go a long way. We take prayer very seriously here at BTI, and I hope you do as well. If you'd like to listen to that song, maybe you haven't heard it yet, you can text the word table, TABLE, to this phone number. I'll send you a link for how you can listen to it on Apple Music, Spotify, or for free, of course, on YouTube. Makes it really easy for you. You can text the word table to 309 316 7240. The word table to 309 316 7240. As we get busy and busier, I spoke about it yesterday. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a little transparent, a little authentic. I hope I didn't come across too much so. I want to bare my heart to you. And sometimes we do that all dolled up and in our Sunday best, but sometimes we come straight as we are, don't we? And I want to thank you for allowing me that privilege to just kind of speak to you as a friend yesterday. If you're too busy for God, you're too busy. And I've learned that myself in my life. But today we're going to continue on in Mark chapter number 6. We're going to pick it up. Mark chapter number 6. We'll read verse number 30 is where we'll pick up from yesterday. Just for a bit of context, remember, Jesus sent his disciples away, 2 by 2, and they did amazing things. They had power over unclean spirits. They healed folks, and then they come back, and this is where we find ourselves in verse number 30, but then we continue on. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the feeding of the 5,000, but today we're kind of in between, right before that, Mark 6, verse 30, and the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while, for there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by ship privately. And that's what we talked about kind of yesterday, about how it's so important not just to come away and rest, but in doing so, we need to spend time with God. And more so than taking the application point of a busy minister of the gospel or a busy Christian resting for a while, I think we need to spend time with God. And that was the application yesterday. If you missed it, go back and listen to the archived versions. But then we continue on today, verse number 33, and the people saw them departing, and many knew him, and ran afoot thither out of all the cities, and out went them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, saw much people, and was moved with compassion toward them, because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're going to pick up with the feeding of the 5,000. What an incredible story that is. But right now, I want to look at this passage here. He was moved with compassion. When we get busy, When we get tired, when we get sometimes full with what God is doing with us and through us, we can need rest, and we absolutely do. And I'm not recommending to us that we forego rest, but while we don't forget to spend time with God, like I spoke about kind of transparently yesterday, I want us to be very careful to not forget that the ministry is people. One of the things I most appreciate about my position here at Bible Tracts is the opportunities I get to be a full-time evangelist, meaning going out, and in most weekends, right now I'm just about booked up through kind of March of next year, and really it's pushing more towards April, May, and then really June it has a few openings, and then July gets absolutely slammed, and so I'm not quite booked a year out. And some evangelists, they're booking for 2027 and all that. That's not me. I don't think it ever will be. But as I go to these places, it was just in West Virginia not long ago, and all over Illinois a few weeks before that. And as I go to these places, I'm struck by the fact that I have the opportunity to open this book right here in front of God's people and to invest in them, yes, but to fellowship with them and spend time. And my desire is that I will be moved with compassion as I should be, like Jesus was. But when I get busy, it's so easy with the work of the ministry, with the ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. There's always things to do. There's always projects to work on. I mean, all the time I could be working on something 24/7. Go, go, go. My to-do list is a mile and a half long. But while that's going on, I've got to be very careful to remember people. We talked yesterday about remembering to spend time with God, and that is the most important, the thing of utmost importance. But at the same time, I've got to make sure that I don't forget that the ministry, at the end of the day, is people. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. What? To every creature, to all people. Go ye into all the world, in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, unto the uttermost parts of the earth. It's not just so we can stand in the middle of a jungle and proclaim Christ. It's not so we can stand in the desert and preach the gospel to the sand. No, friend, we're supposed to go to the people. Oftentimes, ministry problems, yes, they're people problems. I understand that. But that's, if we don't have people problems, then we don't have a ministry. You think about this. Our churches should be hospitals for the sick. If you went into a hospital, yeah, if you go into a hospital, you want everything to be nice and clean and sanitized. But if you walked into a hospital and you walked by room after room after room and there were no sick people there, it was just the staff and just the nurses at the nurses station, just the doctors, but they're walking around doing rounds and there's no one to talk about or talk to, then what would be the point of the hospital? Friend, our desire should be that we are constantly lifting up the Christian and exalting the Savior, but also evangelizing the lost. And you think about here, Jesus, the great shepherd that he is, he notices that the people look just like sheep with no shepherd. And what does he do? What is his first reaction? Get them away from me. No, I don't think so. His first reaction is, I've got to go spend some time with them. I've got to go invest in them. He was moved with compassion. What is our first response when we get those calls in the wee hours of the morning? What is my response when I'm asked to be a part of something that I don't really want to do, but it's going to help some people out. It's going to be a blessing to my local church. What's my response to that? Sometimes it's not the response it should be. And I ask you, friend, what is your response like when the same thing happens to you? Are you, right now, involved with and a part of a local church? That is the mechanism, that is the organization that God has decided is the one through which he would work in this time. We just had a couple, nice couple, reach out to me by text. I'll give you the phone number in just a second. He reached out to me and he said, I need a good church. I'm in such and such a city, in such and such a state, and I need you to recommend a church to me. and we talked back and forth just a little bit. It took me about a week or so, and I talked with Todd Lofbaum, and he found a good church, sent him the first one, and it looked like that church had maybe closed its doors. We couldn't figure out how to contact them, at least. And so we sent him a second one, Brother Todd did, and they emailed back. Here's what they said. I want to pull it up real quick here, because I want to read exactly what they said about this church. I'll leave out the specifying information, but it says, "Thank you for the response. The timing could not have been more perfect. My wife and I were blessed enough to not only attend a Sunday service, but as well, the Lord has paved the way for us to attend a 3-day revival meeting they were having. This Baptist church has been exactly what we are in search of. The amount of love bestowed upon the body has left us nothing short of grateful, encouraged, and more hungry for the word than ever before." Again, thank you for the recommendation. I pray blessing upon the Bible Tracts ministry, and as well as for your continual health. That was a response we got from some folks. I'll give you his first name. His first name was Tony. I was texting with him. What a blessing to see what God did. I'll be honest with you, the first time he texted me, I was thinking, I've got a lot to do. But you know what? Texting Tony back about finding a good local church, that is so much higher of a priority than sitting down and writing a newsletter article. It's so much of a higher priority than this. It's why we exist. People ask me, I don't want to bother you. It's like, you don't realize me getting to interact with you, that is my ministry. That's exactly why I am here. That's why I was put on earth. What a blessing to get that from Tony. You don't always hear back from folks, but that was such a blessing. Moved with compassion. What is our response? Will we go the extra mile? I hope so. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the feeding of the 5,000. Are you hungry? Let's talk about the feeding of the 5,000 tomorrow, shall we? That'll be great. I want to thank you so much for joining me once again on the radio broadcast. This is Bible Tract Echoes. My name is Mike McCurry, and if you need a church, I want you to text me. Maybe you're listening right now and you say, all right, I don't feel like I'm bothering you. I want to talk to you, Brother Mike. I have a question for you, a comment, a critique, or maybe I just need to find a good church. I want you to text me at this number. You ready? 309 316 7240. Again, that number is 309 316 7240. My prayer, as always, is that you have a great day for His glory. I'm going to plan on talking tomorrow. We're getting close to finishing up Mark chapter number 6 in this week. Thanks for listening. God bless.